Okay, welcome to our friends from Denmark. And we'll start, as we normally do, with Anton for Sky Sports News.
Hi, Ange.
Good to.
First off, I suppose that obviously you got your first taste of football at the City Ground recently, but are you expecting it to be wrapped up on a special night tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so. Again, my experience with the other clubs I've been at, European nights, they always tend to be a little bit different, a little bit more special. I think the fans sort of get themselves up for it in terms of it is something different, something unique, and the fact that it's the first one in 30 years, I guess, adds to that, and really looking forward to it. I think it'll be a cracking atmosphere.
More than just now, I spoke to Chris Wood earlier in the week as well, and there seems to be certainly a belief amongst the players where they just want that win to sort of show that not just the trajectory of the club, but also everything they've been working on. Is that a fair summary of how everyone's feeling right now?
Yeah, I guess so. I think it's only natural that, whether it's players or everyone associated with the club, wants to, win games. And obviously when we've been on a run like ours where we haven't won in a little while, then, that kind of, becomes a little more prevalent in people's minds and I guess all the discussions they have. But at the same time, I still get a sense that the players in particular, but the whole group, sees that we, in terms of our football, we're making progress and, we just got to trust in that process and, the results will come.
Again, just more than saying that the players are going to lean into your experience, especially in this competition. What is the key difference from a club that hasn't been in European football for nearly 30 years? What do they need to know? What do they need to pick up really quickly when they get back into European competition?
Well, I think I said last time, I think you've got to make sure that you kind of treat it as a separate entity, because I think sometimes, irrespective of what's happening in the league, whether it's good, bad or otherwise, European competition, you need to treat as a standalone sort of tournament because it challenges you in different ways. You meet opponents that you don't really know very well, are not familiar with, a style of game potentially it's not familiar with, players that you're not familiar with, all these kind of things. And I think if you're dismissive of that and just assume that, because maybe they don't play, in the same competition as yourself, they're somehow inferior, then, you fall into a trap. So you really got to, treat it as a separate entity, and every game, I think even in terms of our preparation, we put a lot more sort of detail into the opposition, only because we know that, particularly the players aren't familiar with it, and we can help them in that space.
Finally, team, I suppose we didn't see Alexander Zinchenko training today. How is he?
Yeah, he's not too bad. He pulled up a bit sore with his groin. He did well to finish the game, to be honest. He felt it pretty early on. Look, he's probably played more football in this last 3 weeks than he has played for quite a while, which is not surprising that, he felt a bit sore. It's nothing significant. It'll put him out tomorrow night, probably the weekend, with us knowing that the international window is straight after it. So I think with him, I mentioned Douglas Luiz and a couple of others, I think we've got to take this time to make sure that, we have them up and running for the next period of games. Yeah, Murillo should be good. He's trained last sort of 3 days, had a good solid block. First time he's had sort of solid block of training, so he's available. But, we're a little bit short there. I mean, it's always the way it goes in football. We don't have too many injuries, but, we've lost 2 fullbacks and a defender. And, I think that has been a little bit disruptive when you look at sort of Forest and their defence last year. Murillo and Ola were kind of constants in it, so we haven't had them. But having said that, I've been really happy with the likes of Morata and Zinchenko and the jobs they've done. So just maybe somebody else will step up.
Thanks, Anton. Charlie Slater for BBC.
Thank you, Highland. Hi, Ange. First, do you curse your luck a little bit when it comes to the injury side of things? I look at Ola last year, Murillo virtually ever present, and then you walk in the door and 2 of them pick up injuries like that.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, it's not too bad at the moment. I mean, Ola was kind of, sort of those things where, they go away international duty, it happens. And Murillo, he gets a knock in the first 15 minutes of the game I'm in charge with. But, I think that's, in my experience, that's the constant, one of the constants of my role is that there's always a challenge. You can have everyone fit, but there are other issues you've got to deal with. I think we're in a decent space at the moment from a sort of fitness perspective. Obviously, in the last sort of 4 or 5 games, I made a lot of changes to the lineups, which maybe has disrupted our fluency a little bit. But I think, for the most part, at least means through this block, we've got a decent base for all the players. They've all played some part, which I think, like I said, we're going to need because, as you see, with every sort of block of games we have between the windows, between now and Christmas, it's pretty demanding. It's every 3-4 days, and having guys ready to participate and in good physical condition is going to help us.
How helpful would it be to get rid of this whole narrative of still not won? Just obviously you want to win, but how helpful would it be to just kill that narrative?
Look, I think it'll be helpful in terms of, for me, it's about the players, right? So I just think, they've embraced what we're trying to do. And since I've come in, we're obviously doing things differently. I think that's quite obvious to everyone, and the players have bought into it. But I want them to get the rewards of it as well because they're working awfully hard. Just about every physical metric we have, they're producing sort of their best performances. When you look at our football, we're creating more chances than the opposition. We're kind of dominating in every sort of aspect, but we're not winning. And you want the players to feel the reward of that because I think that accelerates growth and belief. When you don't sort of get over the line, even though the belief is still there, they don't get that reward and enjoyment that is required to continue that. So, but, there's only one way to fix that, and that is, and I don't think it's, going away from what we're doing, that's for sure. We've just got to keep doing what we're doing, and I'm really confident that the results will come.
Can you speak to the pride that you'll have in leading a team like this with such European history into a first European game here at the City Ground for nearly 3 decades? Yeah,
really privileged, I guess. And, you talk about fortune. Well, that's on the back of the work of guys like Coops and Nuno that have got us to this point. So, I'm kind of the beneficiary of that. And I don't take that lightly. And it is a privilege, but it's one that I'm looking forward to, the responsibility of leading the club back in Europe for the first time in 30 years and hopefully making it a campaign to remember. And, more importantly, I think it's something that this football club wants to do on a regular basis, every season. So, looking forward to it. Like I said, just my previous experience with other clubs, the European nights are always special, and I think on the back of a 30-year absence, I've got a feeling tomorrow night's going to be one of those nights. Sorry.
Last but certainly not least, what do you know about Midtjylland?
Yeah, a fair bit. Have experience playing against them. I think it was at Celtic when we played them in European football, and they're one of those clubs where they've done things in their own distinct way, fair to say, and have had great success doing it that way. Real clear identity in terms of their football. They've had, managerial changes, but you wouldn't know it with the way they play. The kind of players they recruit, they've always had a really clear recruiting philosophy that works for them. And this team's no different. They're, again, very reliant on being physical, on set pieces, on being really direct. You know what you get when you play them. And I think they pride themselves on that. They've always got some really good talent. There's a couple of players in there I know really well. There's Big Cho from Korea. I tried to sign when I was at Celtic, so I'm very familiar with them, and it'll be a good challenge for us.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. No more photographs, please. Phil Brewster for ITV.
No, go, mate.
John, just one that I knew. Apparently, Midtjylland have got this chart above one of their rooms where they talk about their set piece and their dead ball specialists and how they've got more goals scored than conceded and that thing. Have you had to do a lot of homework about those sort of things? Are you aware of all those?
Yeah, but look, it's fair to say in the modern game, set pieces is the modern trend, and you got to prepare for them irrespective. And I think they've been doing it for a long time and have probably more refined processes. But yeah, we've obviously had a good look at it, and we understand the threat that poses. And from our perspective, we'll be prepared for it.
You have experienced European football. What's your message to your players who maybe haven't gone through this for the first time, especially in front of a home crowd as well?
Yeah, I think, like I said before, I think it's about embracing the challenge, the unique challenge of it. Sometimes in the Premier League, you go into an arena with a lot of things that you already know, in terms of maybe the atmosphere, maybe the opposition, the players you're facing, everything's pretty familiar. Europe sometimes isn't about that. It's about the unfamiliar and how you embrace that. And I think it's exciting. I think it helps you develop as a footballer when you challenge yourself in that way. And I think if you take that sort of mindset into it, then it becomes something exciting. It breaks kind of the monotony of your everyday existence, where this is something different, something unique. And I think I think all players who are involved in European competition say that once whatever campaign's finished, they can't wait to get into another campaign.
Thank you, Phil. Questions from the floor?
How do you remember those two games with Celtic against Midtjylland back in 21?
Yeah, tough games. It was early period at Celtic, and I don't think we'd won a game in 5 or 6. That's familiar territory for me. And they were tough games, home and away, really good big challenges for us. And I thought it was a great atmosphere at Celtic Park, but it was a really tight game. But at Midtjylland, it was tough, the atmosphere. And at the time, I thought they had a really strong team. They were competing in Europe and making an impact in Europe as well. And really tough games. Like I said, in terms of the style, not too much different. Very, very direct. Had a couple of great set piece specialists at the time. A couple of the Brazilian lads they had, and it was a tough game, but it was a great experience. I loved it. Like I said, it was probably maybe the third or fourth game I had in charge of Celtic, and it was the early stages, a bit like here, where we were playing okay, but we didn't have the results. But I think even though we didn't get through, we still gained a lot of belief from our football in those games.
Yeah.
Ange, another Danish journalist here.
Okay.
You talked about the show early on. Are there other players you see as threats or key, or players you have to keep an eye on? Or?
Yeah, I think I think they're always in every team, but I always start with kind of the basis of, is there something that the team does distinctively? And with Midtjylland, they do, irrespective of who's playing. The threats are kind of similar. They play a really, like I said, they really test you in ways. They test you physically. They test you with the way they play their football. They're very vertical. They get from one end to the other very quickly. They test you with their size. So irrespective of the individuals within there, I think what's more important for us is we embrace the challenge of what they do as a team, because I think that's going to be more important for us to combat than the individuals.
Had you been following Joe's career after?
Yeah, very closely, because I tried really hard to sign him at Celtic, and he ended up turning me down, so I wasn't happy. But at the time, he was going really well, and you could see the attributes he had. Obviously, his career's gone sort of in a couple of different directions since then, but certainly I know him really well because of I kind of studied him very closely in the scouting department when we were looking to sign him.
You have a wonderful track record when you look at your career, and a lot of years ahead of you still. But we're trying to have a young coach in Midtjylland, his first senior job. Do you feel you have an upper hand in kind of match like this?
No, I don't think so. I think I was once his age, and when you are, I think you kind of, particularly if it's your first role, you're really sort of excited by it and you have no fear. I certainly didn't. I'm sure he doesn't. I'm sure he's looking forward to the challenge. I don't think it gives me any sort of extra edge. Ultimately, it's about how we prepare our players. They're the ones that are going to be the combatants out there, and I'm looking forward to meeting him tomorrow. Like I said, he's starting off, hopefully a long journey where he gets to my age and he's still doing what he loves. That's the goal, I guess, for every young manager. And thankfully, I'm at the other end where one day I don't have to be doing a lot of this stuff anymore. So, but looking forward to meeting you.
Thank you.
And Morgan said that when it does click, it has been shown, so obviously he thinks you'll be unstoppable. It's so important that the players do trust that process, you say.
Yeah, look, I've got to be fair to players. I mean, what are they going to say? They're not going to say it's crap and I hate the manager, So I always think when I hear and I get it, you got to ask those questions that players, love what they're doing and love the manager, and but I think more important to me than that, and I'm not being dismissive of Morgan at all or Chris. I think they do genuinely see what we're trying to do, and I think more important to me is what I see in terms of the game, in terms of the trading, and look, I get it. People kind of always look at the end result and work their way back from that. So when you're not winning, they just think that obviously there's something wrong. So then they look for things that are wrong. But, the flip side of that is I've got to give feedback to the players. I've got to analyse the game, and I've got to be always honest with them. And when I analyse the games, I see that they're doing so many things right. And in a normal course of events, we could have been sitting here. I don't think anyone would begrudge us if we'd won all those games. I don't think any win in the last four or five games, apart from the Arsenal game, anyone would have said we were lucky if we had won those games. So, there's so many positive signs. I think the players, they're not silly. They see that and they understand that. But like I said, I want them to get the rewards of their hard work as well. And, I think once we do that, then, I think we will. We'll gain momentum with our football, and because then the victories will be justified. They won't be lucky, they'll be because we're doing what we're doing now, dominate games of football and getting the right result.
Paul.
I'm sure you'll be focused on preparing your team and doing your job. On a human level, are you able to take a step back and enjoy nights like this? And just...
Oh, absolutely. More so nowadays because I realise, like I said, I'm in a real privileged position, that, I didn't earn this European spot. This was on the back of, the great year the club had last year under Nuno and the players, and I'm a kind of beneficiary of that. So, but I also appreciate that, I'm in this position where I can experience something like tomorrow night, and these kind of things along the way are what, the memories you kind of gather along that, when you get to the sort of the end of your career, you look back on and enjoy. And, if I look back on the last sort of, 4 years I've had sort of since I've been in Europe, there are so many European nights that have been so special at Celtic and that obviously at Tottenham that, the chance that I get to experience that tomorrow night is one I'll treasure for sure.
Any more? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.